The original idea for the module as it was first conceived was to think about how to provide students with the ability to think about this information overload that we are confronted with as information consumers in our information society. And that was one of the driving principles for this. And part of a lot of what is going on now with contemporary modes of communication, whether it's through Twitter or RSS feed readers or social bookmarking, is either the exchange of information, new kinds of information, or old kinds of information, articles, or new kinds of information just being what people are doing during the day, and how to store them in a place that's easily findable again, and what are the processes that we're going to go through to do this, and then what are the rhetorical, social rhetorical, cultural implications of these kinds of modes of communication and the modes of storage. And how does this help us as writers deal with all this information that we're dealing with now, right? And this was something that Vannevar Bush was talking about back in the 30s, and in As We May Think, when he was introducing the Memex, which was the first precursor of what an idea of something relating to the internet, where documents would be available in an individual type of screen. He was thinking more towards microfiche type screen, that you would be able to go between and among these documents and find them and look at them, and it was based on a lot of associative thinking. So you'd have an article about one thing, and then there'd be an associative opportunities to find articles relating to that. And this was what he was talking about in the 1930s. And it's even more prominent today. And a lot of what these new modes of communication is how do we deal with this? And how as writers do we deal with this, having all this information in front of us? Information that we are also producing. It's not just information from news sources or information from scholarly journals. You know, information is a tweet, is a bit of information. It might be about a person's life and, you know, what their cat had for breakfast, or it might be something more thick, like what they're blogging about, or, you know, something more important. But that is a kind of information, and how do we work with all those things? So that was really the genesis for the technologies in the future of writing module. How can I have students engage with this information overload? How can we engage them in creating new modes of communication, new modes of information through new modes of writing, blogging, tweeting, social bookmarking as a form of composition, tagging as a form of composition, and getting them to think about how these new information possibilities also provide possibilities for new modes of writing, new types of communication. And how can we take them seriously, right? So how can we take a Facebook status update seriously and not just see it as, you know, cultural baggage, right? Or just inane musings. You know, how do we take that seriously? How do we take text messaging seriously? How do we take blogging seriously? You know, a lot of things that students have not thought about in many ways, or at all. They just do these things. They haven't really thought about them a lot, you know. So that led to this idea of information ecology, which I was dealing with at the first. You know, we were looking at Nardino Day's text quite a bit, and I'm not sure if Krista is doing that now. I think she might be. She might have gone back to that. I've sort of, towards the end of my module, I was tired. I dropped a lot of the theory, that information ecology theory from what we were doing. But the idea also is that our information does not exist in isolation, that it exists within an ecology of texts and technologies that we as writers need to know how to leverage for rhetorical purposes.